Yeah, what is the status of Delmont and Mayfair, the two school chains that you girls wanted to do that you guys shot down? My understanding is that they're still going to open as scheduled this year, but could you kind of just give me an update on the status?
Sure. Well, first of all, congratulations to Barbara and to the entire Baton Rouge Parish School Board. And there was a lot of talk in the legislature. We were moving to a new hardware accountability model. People wanted to roll that back because of their fears about their own letter grades. Turns out there was no reason to be scared of the new accountability system. In fact, East Baton Rouge Parish took great advantage of it and really knocked it out of the park on their F-rated schools. I've been urging, and I know they didn't need me urging, but I've been urging them to take that challenge on. It looks like they were successful in doing it. Not entirely successful, but at least on the road to being successful, because a number of schools that were F-rated came out of F-rated status. So I congratulate Superintendent Taylor, and I congratulate Barbara and David Tappan, the board president, and the entire board. There are some schools, however, that remain at F-rated status, and some of them have been there for many years, and two of the ones you mentioned, Delmont and Mayfair, are two of those. Earlier in June, Superintendent Taylor had written me a letter asking for essentially a reprieve on that status, multi-years at the F range, because he has a plan to turn Mayfair into a selective enrollment school that would remove all the low-performing kids from that school and bring in a new set of high-performing kids. And Delmont into an early childhood center where the kids don't take state tests anyway. We told them that we would not give them a reprieve from the accountabilities, that they're still responsible for the results that have happened, good and bad, and that we were thus not going to reset the clock essentially on accountability. Now, I know from reading the paper, as you do, I assume that they've gone ahead and created a lab school, an elite school at Mayfair and a early childhood center at Delmont. And Superintendent Taylor has assured me in correspondence that the kids who were, which is about 1,000 kids, who were relocated from Delmont and Mayfair were sent to higher performing schools. He said they were going to C schools. And I'm anxious to get that information, whether or not these kids are truly going to C schools. Now that school has started, we should be able to see where those kids go. My recommendation to Bessie as to what to do now will be based on, in great part, did the parish stand by its promise to actually educate those kids in better environments next year? I thought it was shameful that they forced 1,000 kids out of a given school building. But if they're going to go ahead and do it, I want to make sure they lived up to their commitment to have them placed in school buildings that were C or better. If they did, great. If not, I would imagine Bessie's going to take a real look at that and say, can we trust them, or should we be doing something more to intervene, even though they made these switches?
So these schools might still be shut down after being open for this coming year?
I can't speak for the board, but I know what the board will look at is less the solution, which is what you're talking about, and more, do we still have a problem? Which is, did these kids who were forcibly displaced for what I think are basically adult politics purposes, it was a cover-up, I think, did they end up attending the schools that Superintendent Taylor said they were attending, which are C-rated schools or higher? If they did, then I have to say I think it's at least a better thing than having them attend an F school. I do think the idea of forcibly removing them was a problem. But because we haven't started school yet, we haven't seen the evidence, and I'll know Bessie will want to look at that evidence before deciding if there still is a problem.
So you say it's a cover-up. I mean, can you tell us about what it was that made you decide, like the Mayfair thing, for example, creating a lab school? Sounds like reform or change or whatever. I mean, can you maybe give us a little hint about why you guys decided to have the sham?
Well, there are a set of schools across the state that are in their fourth year of receiving a failing grade. Those schools are eligible to be taken over by the state. When you talk about removing all the kids that were in a school rated F, you're talking about generally forcibly removing a set of kids who are low performing, and then bringing in another set of school kids who were screened for their academic proficiency. There was an admission standard applied, essentially to try to make the school look better. And when you do that, then you create the argument, well, don't worry, the school is no longer low performing. Well, I'm not so concerned about whether or not schools are low performing. I'm concerned about whether the kids are being educated. So far, we've seen no evidence that the kids are actually being better educated. We've got to get away from just the question of whether or not what the letter grade was and all that. The letter grade is just an indicator of the real question, which is how well are the kids being educated. There were 1,000 kids forcibly removed. So what's happened to them? And when we see the evidence of that, where those kids are being educated, then I think we'll better understand whether this really did result in a real problem or not. But that's the question we've got to ask is, are these 1,000 kids being better served today than not? Because what my concern is that to serve a population of kids who already are better off we sent those 1,000 kids to all corners of the city, and they're not really being better served? That's the question we got to ask.
So in other words, your issue is not with what they're doing in new schools, quote unquote, it's what's happened to the kids that were just.
Well, I think we always have to start there. I don't love the fact that they forcibly removed people. I'm sure there was a better way, I think, to start a bunch of lab schools if that's really what they wanted to do. But now that we are where we are, I think the main question is, are those kids being better served? These are the disenfranchised. These are the underprivileged. These kids are disproportionately poor. They're almost entirely African American. They were forcibly displaced. Are they being better served this school year than they were last year? That's what I've been told. I've been told they're going to see schools are better. I want enrollment data to show that. If that doesn't happen, Bessie's going to take a hard look at it and enforce. We will recommend whatever the appropriate solution to that problem is. But those kids need to be well served. That's what we should be focused on. That's what I've been focused on the whole time, and I haven't got an answer. How is this helping the 1,000 kids that are forcibly displaced? I understand why a lab school is a good thing, and I thought Wade's and Superintendent Taylor's comments in the paper were very good. I think it's a great idea we got a lab school, but when it disadvantages the already disadvantaged, we got to be accountable for describing how are these kids going to be better off.